Snipers, you have to see what's happening to the cryptocurrency market today as the Bitcoin bulls are reclaiming an extremely important support level at 35,000 US dollars, and now we are back above the weekly open and previous weekly open, back inside of the symmetrical triangle, with yesterday's daily candle closing with this extremely bullish tail. And we saw this bear trap exactly as we predicted for those tuned into the Snipers channel yesterday, and everyone is talking about the upcoming death cross with this 50-day moving average that will cross below this 200-day moving average, and we know that's an extremely bearish sign in traditional markets. But I want to talk about why the last time we saw a death cross with Bitcoin after a rally, we saw an over 40% push to the upside out of nowhere. And if we were to see a 40% push to the upside like we did last time we saw a death cross, that would bring Bitcoin up to test the 100 period moving average here around the $51,000 level. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Notice how inside of this consolidation period, when we last saw a death cross after a rally, we saw Bitcoin rally to that $14,000 level. We saw a consolidation similar to what we're seeing now, and then we saw the death cross, and out of nowhere we saw a pump of over 40% within 3 days. Notice how this took Bitcoin all the way from that $7,000 level above 10,000 US dollars. And if we were to see the same schematics of that play out right now, that would bring Bitcoin's price once again above the $50,000 level to test the 100 period moving average. Are we going to see a rally to the upside before this death cross, or when this death cross occurs, just like we did in the last cycle? There's a lot of puzzle pieces on the table today, but exactly as we predicted, we saw this bear trap. We knew on the 6-hour chart that there was a lot of volume in this area, as we saw here when we initially tested 30,000. And right now, Bitcoin has only formed a low and a higher low. And so the possibility of a reversal is still on the table. And also, if we look at what's happening to Bitcoin dominance, this is a major puzzle piece because, of course, we've been extremely confident about altcoin season here on the channel, but there is an extremely bullish puzzle piece here for Bitcoin dominance that's happening today, with Bitcoin coming above the weekly and monthly open in dominance, looking like it wants to come and test this previous weekly open again. We have this 50-period moving average sitting just above where we're headed right now. If we come up to test this 50-period moving average on the daily chart, we want to look at home base on the weekly chart. We have this 20-week moving average starting to come down towards the 50% dominance level. If we start to see Bitcoin dominance cross above home base, that's a confirmation of a reversal in dominance, and that would be a huge puzzle piece on the table. We've yet to get a confirmation, but I want to talk about the signs to watch when it comes to assuming a reversal in altcoins versus Bitcoin, because of course we did cross back above the 50-day moving average yesterday, but now we're back below the 50-day moving average with others' dominance. That's a puzzle piece. We're still above the monthly open and the previous weekly open, but we are below the current weekly open. We're only halfway through the week. There's so much to talk about today, and then we'll look at what's happening to Ethereum. Of course, we are seeing some weakness here with the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. I am going to address that, and of course, as always, we'll look at gold and traditional markets, commodities like US oil showing strength, continuing into price discovery for this year, seeing new yearly highs, and then the DXY, the most important chart here, still showing calmness, but there is this bullish tail, a puzzle piece on the table. I want to talk about how that could affect the cryptocurrency market as we head into the end of this week. You guys are watching the Snipers channel. My name is Naeem Al-Obeidi. Remember to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Let's hit over 500 likes on this video. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the current price action we're seeing. We did see this bullish tail yesterday on the daily candle close, and that has caused this bear trap to come into fruition, taking Bitcoin's price today above the weekly open and previous weekly open here at 35,800. And notice how we're back inside of this triangle, and we are starting to test the $36,500 level, which is also an extremely key level. And we have this monthly open sitting just between the major resistance of 38,000, which would potentially open the door to that $41,950 area to retest this 200-day moving average. And so at this point, if we get above this monthly open at 37,200, that would be the early signs of a successful recovery operation, with Bitcoin not forming any further lows since the initial $30,000 low. Yes, we saw consolidation here, but I told you guys the path of least resistance is sideways to a little bit higher. This still constitutes as sideways price action, and so this still has the potential of being the bottom for the short term at least, because of course the last time we saw a death cross, we saw a 40% push to the upside, but we did continue into a downtrend. But then March came, and so was it really a downtrend, or was it just an anomaly that March 2020 came and then we saw a further push to the downside? We'll talk about it in just a sec. We'll look at the previous death cross, but for the early micro signs of confirmations, we need to get above 38,000 in my opinion. That will open the door to 41,950 to retest the 200-day moving average, which is what we really need right now for Bitcoin, and that would show that the Bitcoin bulls still have a grasp on the price action, which would be a very positive thing. But most importantly, this 20-week moving average is sitting right at that $49,700 level. And if we were to see a push to the upside, let's just say out of nowhere, we wake up 40% upside with Bitcoin out of nowhere in a few days, that would pretty much allow Bitcoin to come back up to test the $50,000 level. And from there, we can determine whether or not we'll see strength or not, or if we'll continue to the downside. But we have to address this potential scenario of us coming back up to test this 20-week moving average, because the fact that we've yet to come down to the 50-week moving average, and we're already seeing volume on the 6-hour chart here inside of this pocket. You can see there's a lot of volume. MicroStrategy starting to sell more junk bonds to raise more money to buy Bitcoin at these lower prices. Is that a puzzle piece on the table? Bitcoin's never tested a previous all-time high once it's broken an all-time high since the existence of the asset. So the fact that the previous all-time high is sitting right here, there's a huge possibility this could be the worst of it for the short to medium term, and we could potentially see a push to the upside here to almost have a relief rally from all of the downside that we've seen over the last few weeks. This is a volatile asset. It's not like every other asset. Let's keep this on the table, because once again, we look at what happened the last time we saw a death cross after a rally, and then we'll transition into Bitcoin dominance. But I do want to address this. Notice how we saw the death cross occur, and immediately with that death cross, we saw the pump to the upside before seeing the further downside. And then, of course, we don't know if this would have been the bottom here and Bitcoin would have continued to see further highs, because this right here was an anomaly. And so should we factor this price action into the equation? This was March 2020. I don't know. But what I do know is right now, if we were to look at history, there is a potential for us to see a relief rally, and that's on the table. And a 40% push to the upside wouldn't be bad for altcoins. And I'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about here, because we'll look at what's happening to altcoins, and then we'll also look at traditional markets. But first, we need to cover Ethereum, because I need to address the fact that we are below the weekly and monthly open on the Ethereum to US dollar price, which is sitting right at that $2,700 level. And the fact of the matter is, if we don't get back above 2,700, that is showing a lot of weakness for Ethereum, because Bitcoin is above the weekly open right now, unlike Ethereum. And so that's a puzzle piece on the table. With Bitcoin, we definitely don't want to break 35,000 again, or 34,788, or else that will open the door to potential downside. But like I said, we saw this bullish tail yesterday. We're seeing a continuation candle. The print looks bullish. If it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, if it sings like a duck, 8 out of 10 times it's a duck. And so we have to treat it like a duck and not try to make further assumptions or become too extreme on either side. We have to be an umpire. And so with Ethereum, we are seeing some weakness right now. Let's address that on the table. The Ethereum to Bitcoin chart below the monthly and weekly open. We want to get above that 73,000 Satoshi level to assume more strength, or for now, we could expect some further weakness with Ethereum against Bitcoin. And I think that's really coming into fruition because of what's happening to the dominance charts. And so with the Ethereum to US dollar price, a break of 23.85 and this 100-day moving average would be a concern, because that could take us down to the 1760 area. And so we do want to watch that for the downside scenario. I can't sit here and just give you guys a bullish scenario when the fact of the matter is we're seeing weakness. And so here's the biggest puzzle piece we want to address here. We're going to look at altcoins. Notice how this total cryptocurrency market cap chart looks like there's going to be a good potential that we get towards this 20-week moving average. That's a positive thing. We want to see that. That's going to show strength for altcoins. Getting above the monthly open around that $1.6 trillion level is going to be the first sign of a recovery operation here for the total cryptocurrency market cap chart. We've yet to see a full weekly candle close below the 20-week moving average. That's very different than what's been progressing with Bitcoin, as every candle so far has closed below the 20-week moving average. And so we want to monitor the total cryptocurrency market cap chart. A sign of confirmation and strength would be above 1.75 trillion. We know that's been a major level here. We kind of have this flaggish pattern. So you can see here this flag pattern. If we get above 1.75, it puts us back above this flag, and that's going to be good for altcoins. So let's monitor this chart. Others' dominance here, just showing signs of a little bit of a calmer phase than the initial bullish rally. I think that this is due to the uncertainty in the market. I don't know if we're going to see a reversal here. That would be if we come below the 20-week moving average, but we do want to address Bitcoin dominance in the short term. I think that when we see fear in the market, that's when we'll start to see Bitcoin dominance trend up. But I think in the macro, when we look at like the next year or so, I don't believe we'll see a reversal in Bitcoin dominance just yet. I think there's a lot of potential for altcoins to see more capital flow into them and allow their dominance levels to increase. But that doesn't mean we won't see Bitcoin dominance have these type of relief rallies. I think the biggest concern would be if we really start to cross above this 50-day moving average. That would be an early sign of needing to monitor this chart for a reversal. But for now, we have to realize that Bitcoin dominance coming down doesn't mean Bitcoin's price has to come down. It just means that we're seeing more innovation in the market and capital flowing into other projects, not just Bitcoin, right? And we have to address what's happening here to traditional market snipers. The DXY here does have this sort of bullish tail right now. We're above this previous weekly open, but below the weekly open. To me, this is just kind of juggling between the monthly and weekly open. That's a positive thing. I don't want to see any sort of crazy volatility here. If we start to push to the upside, we need to monitor this 50-day moving average, right? So that could bring assets down. That could hurt the cryptocurrency market. But if we start to see calmness here and we just continue to just kind of stay between this weekly and monthly open for the DXY, that's a very healthy environment. And so that's why I called the bear trap yesterday. I told you the environment outside of Bitcoin is really what matters. And the S&P 500 showing strength, just sitting here having a cup of coffee at all-time high really is what it's doing, looking like it's going to break out at some point or another. And the DXY being calm, that assumes a positive environment for the crypto market. Gold here also showing calmness. The gold to Bitcoin chart, we will monitor this. This could potentially be a lower high. And if we come here and we start to form a top here, this could be a positive thing. We have to address that this is a potential cup and handle formation for the gold against Bitcoin chart. So that's going to be something to monitor. This certainly has the potential of continuing down, in my opinion. We know this was the 2017 bottom, and I think that Bitcoin has proven itself quite beyond what it did in 2017, during this rally. And so for us to see gold come back above this area, I think is highly unlikely, but that's based on fundamentals. Anything could happen, right? So just going to be the umpire for you guys. And with that being said, I do want to pick away 2 book giveaway winners. I forgot to pick a winner yesterday. If you want to win Principles by Ray Dalio, remember to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm and then comment below and share this video. You'll have a chance to win. I'll pick 2 winners from our video yesterday and the day before that, since we skipped it. And we'll go ahead and wrap up this video. Bull Moose Crypto says, enjoyed the TH. Cheers for sharing this. Keep up the good work. Send me a message on Instagram. You won a book, and then we'll pick a winner from our video 2 days ago, since we skipped that once again. And Snipers, then we will wrap up this video. Let's see. Brood Sim says, I simply can't see how the crypto bubble pops before the everything bubble. Send me a message on Instagram. You want a book. I appreciate each and every one of you snipers. I couldn't do this without you. Such an exciting time in the market. And the same way that we see short squeezes, there are a lot of times that we see during this downtrend a potential for us to see a relief rally. And I think that's on the table for us to come test this 100 period moving average. Could still see continued downside here. Potentially even bottom out at the $24,000 level during the end of this year. I don't know. It's all on the table. What I do know is the fact of the matter is we have this potential bottoming out formation. We have a lot of fear in the market. We're inside of the symmetrical triangle. We already saw the bull trap and then we saw the bear trap, and we called both of them for those tuning in the Snipers channel. We're above the weekly open. It's a very crucial time, and we're midweek, and so anything could happen. Everything's on the table. And so With that, we'll cover the markets tomorrow and see how things progress. And until next time, thank you all for tuning in. Snipers out.